My wife told her friends that I was too blind to know she was cheating, and after hearing that, I took the time to gather evidence and exposed her right in front of her friends, along with a divorce petition at her very own birthday party. My name is Eric. I'm 42. My job requires a sharp eye for detail, which is ironic considering how blind I was in my own marriage. My wife Daisy is 39. We've been married for 15 years and were together for 2 years before that. We never had kids. Life, or at least what I thought life was, seemed stable. We owned a nice house, we both had decent jobs, and I believed we respected each other. But I was wrong. So wrong. There are a few key people in this story, Daisy's friends, who I always thought were a little too fond of gossip, and then there's the man she cheated with. I recently found out who he is. And his wife, who had no idea what was going on. This didn't start with some dramatic event. It crept in like a slow leak. At first, I didn't see it for what it was. For the last 3 or 4 years, Daisy started acting more distant. She said work was demanding more of her time, late nights, weekend meetings. That's what she told me anyway. She started going out more with friends and coming home late smelling like alcohol and perfume I didn't recognize. Things between us, especially in the bedroom, became colder. I thought it was just stress. The usual stuff marriages go through. I even asked if she wanted to see a counselor. She said no, that I was overreacting, sensitive. Before all this, life was simple, steady. We used to garden on weekends, go for drives, cook together most nights. Daisy had this lightness to her, a laugh that made even boring tasks feel fun. But that version of her faded. Shared dinners disappeared. She'd eat late, claim she grabbed something after a work thing or with friends. I didn't get invited to anything anymore. Girl time, she said. You wouldn't enjoy it, she said. One Saturday, I suggested we go to this local festival we both used to love. She said she already made plans with a friend. Later, when I asked how it went, she just shrugged and said, it got canceled. About a year ago, she told me she had a work retreat. She even left a printed itinerary on the fridge. That night, I tried to call the hotel to say goodnight. Her phone was off. The receptionist told me there was no one by that name staying there. No company event either. My heart sank. When she got home, I asked her how it went. She talked about the guest speakers and the workshops offering elaborate details. Then I told her I called the hotel. She exploded, said I didn't trust her, that I was trying to control her, claimed there was a last-minute hotel switch due to plumbing issues. She pulled out an email confirming a new booking. It felt too convenient, like she had it ready, but I let it go. I didn't want to believe she'd lie that big. Her spending started to spike. Designer clothes, expensive salons, gifts she said were for clients. Our joint account started bleeding money. When I tried to bring up budgeting, she got defensive. Said she earned her own money and could spend it how she wanted. That was true. But we used to talk through big expenses together. Then 3 weeks ago, everything cracked open. It was a Tuesday night. Daisy was on a video call in her study with her friends. Normally, she used headphones, but this time the audio came through a Bluetooth speaker in the kitchen, where I was making a sandwich. The study door was slightly ajar. I wasn't eavesdropping. It just happened. I heard loud laughter, then Daisy's voice. She was mid-story, her tone smug and amused. He's just so clueless, she said. 15 years and he hasn't suspected a thing. Honestly, sometimes I think he's too stupid to notice. Her friends burst out laughing. I froze slice of bread in hand, and she kept going. Troy is amazing, so attentive. It's like night and day compared to Eric. Eric just drifts through life happy in his little oblivious world. One of her friends asked how long it had been going on. Daisy replied, with Troy, about 4 years now. There were a few others before him, shorter things. But Troy is different. Then she began describing in graphic detail something she and Troy had recently done. They giggled, asking for more. She laughed, bragged, and even joked that my so-called obliviousness made it easy to get away with it. Oh, and Troy. He's married too. That, she said, made it safer. I shut the speaker off quietly, backed out of the kitchen. I didn't say a word. Didn't confront her. That night I got into bed as if nothing had happened. She came in later humming and asked if I was okay. I told her I was just tired from work. The next morning, I got up dressed and went to the office like it was any other day. But my mind wasn't on my job. I couldn't stop hearing it, too stupid to notice. That one sentence echoed in my head like a drum beat, and I decided I'd show her exactly how much I noticed. How sharp I really was. I wasn't going to rage. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to plan. First, I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. Not just for my own closure, but for court, because I knew divorce was now inevitable. I started by combing through our finances. I had full access to our joint bank accounts and credit card statements, all stored in a shared email inbox I'd set up years ago. She never changed the settings. I analyzed every bill, every transaction. Spa weekends she claimed were me time. Dinners at upscale places I'd never been. Hotel bookings in cities where she didn't have work events. Lavish gifts. Patterns emerged. I found my old college voice recorder loaded in fresh batteries and hid it under the passenger seat in her car. I also installed file recovery software on our home computer, the one she still used. I hunted deleted emails, messages, photos. I became a detective in my own home. Each night while she slept, or early in the mornings before she woke up, I dug through the digital rubble of our life. The recordings came in fast. Phone calls with Troy discussing meetings, hotel rooms, their sex life. Calls with her friends mocking me. Deleted emails confirmed the affair. Photos too, some innocent, some not so much. Solo trips that weren't solo. Business travel that was just an excuse. Within a week, I had a mountain of evidence. And then I found him Troy. Full name, address, workplace. He's married just as she said. His wife blissfully unaware. For now. Daisy, despite all her lies, had been surprisingly sloppy. She saved his number under a woman's name, but the frequency of messages and calls made it obvious. I cross-checked everything with my recordings and traced social media hints back to him. His wife had a mostly public profile. Happy family. Smiling pictures. That happiness was about to collapse, and I was going to be the one to push it over. Daisy's birthday was 10 days away. I decided to make it unforgettable. I hired a lawyer, a tough one. I gave him everything. Documents, photos, recordings. Even if not all were admissible, they helped guide the case. He said I had a strong case. Very strong. Here's the plan, step by step. 2 days before her birthday, I would freeze our joint bank accounts. I'd cancel all credit cards connected to my name. The house, which was mostly in my name, would be protected through legal channels. The day before her birthday, I'd send an anonymous package to Troy's wife. Inside proof of the affair. Photos, hotel receipts, transcripts of conversations. On her birthday, Daisy would wake up to financial chaos. Later that day, she'd be served divorce papers, ideally during whatever celebration she had planned, in front of her friends. This isn't a request for advice. I've made my decision. Pretending everything's fine these last few weeks has been the hardest thing I've ever done. The pressure has been immense. But this, writing this, it helps. It's a record, a message to the world. She built a secret life, believing I was too blind to see it. Now she'll see just how wrong she was. The 9 days leading up to Daisy's birthday passed quicker than I expected. Each morning felt heavy. Each night, restless. Yet strangely, I was filled with clarity. Every detail of my plan had become second nature by now, like breathing, methodical, and effortless. I spent those days finalizing arrangements. My lawyer had carefully guided me through every necessary legal step. He was clear and precise, his confidence quietly reassuring. The case was airtight, years of evidence compiled into neat, indisputable documentation. Daisy, with all her arrogance and careless deception, had made it easy for us. 2 days before her birthday, I set Phase 1 into motion, the financial lockdown. I took the day off work, woke early, dressed calmly, and drove to the bank. My lawyer had already notified them of our intent, so when I arrived, the senior bank manager greeted me with professional seriousness. We quickly got to work. First, I withdrew exactly half of our joint account balance, depositing it immediately into new accounts, solely in my name. Then we froze all shared accounts, locking Daisy out entirely. Next, I called each credit card company. Every card Daisy used under my name or credit was immediately frozen. Any automatic payments linked to these cards, her luxury car lease, personal subscriptions, shopping services would now fail. For the first time in years, Daisy's financial stream was abruptly severed. Later that afternoon, Daisy's panicked calls started coming in. The first call was almost calm, her voice slightly nervous. "Hey Eric, I think something's wrong with the bank. My card got declined today, and I can't access our joint account online." "Do you know what's going on?" I replied, briefly, keeping my voice steady. "I've discovered some serious issues regarding our finances and marriage. I've taken steps based on legal advice. You'll understand everything soon." She quickly grew frantic. "What do you mean, serious issues, Eric? You can't just do this without explaining." I simply repeated, "You'll understand soon," and ended the call. She called repeatedly after that. I ignored every call. Text messages began flooding my phone. Some bewildered. "What's happening?" "Please explain." Others furious. "You're insane. You have no right." Others pleading. I responded to none. I felt no pity, no sadness, just cold resolve. The next day, Phase 2 was executed, informing the other victim, Troy's wife. I'd compiled a neatly packaged binder filled with undeniable proof photos of Daisy and Troy on romantic trips, hotel receipts, bearing both their names, printed transcripts of their explicit conversations. Nothing graphic, but clear enough to leave no doubt. I attached a short, unsigned note. "Mary, you deserve to know the truth about your husband Troy and his long-term affair with Daisy." I sent it anonymously via courier with delivery confirmation. By late afternoon, I received confirmation Mary herself had signed for the package. It felt strangely like lighting a fuse, a necessary explosion. Finally, it was Daisy's birthday, the climax I'd meticulously orchestrated. Phase 3. I'd discovered through Daisy's email confirmation which restaurant she'd booked for dinner with her friends. I hired a professional process server, a calm older man with experience in delicate matters. He had explicit instructions: serve her the divorce papers publicly at the restaurant during her celebration. I stayed at home, pacing the floor quietly, phone in hand, waiting for confirmation. It came through late that evening in a single efficient text from the process server: papers successfully served at restaurant. Subject visibly distressed. Visibly. In the hours afterward, the aftermath erupted exactly as I had anticipated, maybe even worse. Mutual acquaintances eagerly reported back what they'd heard from Daisy's horrified friends. Daisy had just sat down, still unsettled by her financial nightmare, but pretending everything was normal when the server approached and asked, "Are you Daisy?" When she confirmed, he handed her a large envelope and simply said, "You've been served." They said Daisy's face turned ghostly pale. She ripped open the envelope, scanned the contents, and went into hysterics, shouting, crying, screaming uncontrollably. Restaurant staff intervened, eventually asking her group to pay and leave their celebratory evening utterly ruined. One of Daisy's friends even called me afterward, angrily condemning me in a voicemail. "How could you? Do you have any idea what you did to her tonight?" But the truth was, I knew exactly what I'd done. The following days saw Daisy unravel further. She called, texted, emailed, repeatedly switching from fury to sorrow, apologies to desperate pleas. "Eric, please talk to me." Troy meant nothing. It was a mistake. "Then you're destroying my life." "Why are you doing this?" I ignored every message. I instructed my lawyer to handle all direct communication. Emotionally, I felt detached, strangely calm, almost clinical in watching the destruction unfold. Soon I heard Daisy's financial situation had quickly spiraled downward. Her car lease went unpaid, and the car she once adored was repossessed. Without financial access or stable income, her salary had always been spent lavishly. She struggled significantly. Then 2 weeks after her disastrous birthday, a legal order forced her out of our home. It was my parents' house originally, and my lawyer had already secured my sole possession due to her infidelity and reckless spending. Daisy reluctantly moved in with a friend, a temporary arrangement clearly causing strain. A few days later, Daisy made a public scene at my workplace. Security had to escort her out as she shouted accusations claiming I'd destroyed her life. My colleagues watched, shocked and silent. It solidified my decision the woman who humiliated me would now publicly humiliate herself. Then, just as I thought it couldn't escalate further one evening, I received an urgent call from Daisy's friend. Daisy, apparently intoxicated and distraught, had harmed herself superficially. She was hospitalized briefly under psychiatric observation and released after 3 days with instructions for supervision. I felt no emotional pull when hearing this, just immediately informed my lawyer, documenting everything. Her instability now reinforced my legal position significantly. Meanwhile, Troy's own life imploded spectacularly. His wife Mary had confronted him the very day she received the package, immediately filing for divorce. Troy, publicly humiliated and now abandoned by Daisy, who he blamed for their exposure, found his professional reputation and family life shattered. Mutual acquaintances whispered about him, bitterly regretting the entire affair. I heard Daisy had desperately attempted to reconnect with Troy, only to find him bitterly blaming her carelessness. So much for their special connection. Just last week, I saw Daisy briefly by chance in a supermarket parking lot, loudly arguing with a friend. The woman standing there was unrecognizable, disheveled, distressed, completely opposite the confident wife I once knew. I drove away quietly, no longer feeling anything for the wreckage left behind. Now, 5 weeks after her fateful birthday, the divorce proceedings were fully underway. Daisy's lawyer attempted to claim significant alimony and property division, but her documented infidelity, reckless spending, and unstable behavior heavily weakened her position. My lawyer remains confident, methodically dismantling every argument she puts forth. Through the endless meetings, piles of legal paperwork, and occasional whispers of town gossip, I felt a grim satisfaction. Daisy had laughed at my supposed stupidity, but in reality, her betrayal had turned me into something far sharper, colder, and infinitely more decisive than she'd ever imagined. She had underestimated me profoundly. And now, as I calmly navigated the carefully laid demolition of her lies, Daisy finally understood the gravity of her actions. This wasn't vengeance. It was justice. It's been a few more weeks since Daisy was served the divorce papers, and now the dust is starting to settle. But what remains is a mess, emotionally, legally, financially, and the full consequences of her choices are finally becoming clear to everyone involved. I've been spending a lot of time in meetings with my lawyer going over the mountain of evidence I collected. Every receipt, every recording, every piece of proof has been sorted, documented, and legally sealed into the case. Daisy's adultery isn't just suspected, it's confirmed beyond argument. My lawyer even said he's rarely seen a divorce file this well prepared by a client. Despite all that, her lawyer is still trying to push for alimony and a large share of the marital assets. I expected that. But my lawyer is pushing back hard, and frankly, I don't think they stand a chance. The court will take into account her spending marital funds on affairs, her deception, and her instability, especially that incident where she harmed herself after the birthday dinner. Blow up. We already obtained the hospital records and psychiatric evaluation. It's all being added to the file. Emotionally, I've reached a strange state of calm. It's not peace exactly, but it's something close. Maybe it's just numbness. Maybe it's what happens when you process something so deeply painful and come out the other side. I still think back sometimes to how she laughed about me with her friends, how she ridiculed me behind my back, made jokes about my intelligence. Those memories sting like acid, but they don't paralyze me anymore. They fuel me. Daisy, on the other hand, is falling apart in full view of everyone who used to admire her. She's moved twice since leaving the house. Her initial stay with a friend ended after just 2 weeks. The second friend also got tired of having her around. She's been couch surfing, and as far as I know, she still doesn't have a stable place to live. She tried renting an apartment, but with her credit in chaos and no access to our former joint funds, it's not going well. She has income, but not nearly enough to maintain the lifestyle she was used to. Her once glamorous social life is gone. I've heard through mutual acquaintances that many of her so-called friends have pulled away from her. Maybe it's the drama. Maybe they're just embarrassed to be associated with her after what happened. I also learned that some of them are the very ones who leaked details about the birthday dinner meltdown. Apparently, Daisy's screaming match with the process server became the talk of a few social circles. She was always so proud of her image, charming, successful, in control. Now she's a cautionary tale, the woman who laughed too loudly and got caught too publicly. Troy, her affair partner, hasn't reached out to her since everything blew up. From what I hear, his wife Mary kicked him out the same day she got the package. He moved in with a relative temporarily. Mary filed for divorce almost immediately. She's also retained a well-known attorney in town, and her case is reportedly strong. She has the same evidence I sent, and she added more from Troy's own phone and emails. I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good to know he's paying a heavy price, too. As for Daisy, I think she finally understands how badly she miscalculated. She's no longer angry, at least not openly. Her tone has changed in every attempt she makes to reach me. The rage is gone. It's all regret now. "Please talk to me," she wrote in one email. "I made a huge mistake. I ruined everything. I didn't mean to hurt you. Please give me a chance to fix it." There is nothing left to fix. She spent years living a double life. Years lying to my face. Years taking my loyalty for granted while mocking me behind my back. And now that everything's crumbled, she wants to undo it with an apology? No, I haven't responded. Not once. I've instructed my lawyer to keep all direct communication blocked. I've been warned she might try showing up again at my office, or even at home. So far, she hasn't. But if she does, I'm prepared. Everything is documented. Everything is protected. The house has been quiet lately, eerily so at times. But I've come to appreciate the silence. There's no more pretending, no more second-guessing every word or action. I can move freely in my own space again without walking on eggshells. I've even started sleeping better. The nightmares, the ones where I heard her laugh again, calling me stupid, have started to fade. A few friends have reached out to see how I'm doing. Some of them knew us as a couple and were shocked when they found out what had happened. Others had their suspicions but never said anything. I've kept most of the details private. I don't feel the need to defend myself. Anyone who matters knows the truth, or will know it soon. At work, I've stayed focused. Strangely enough, my performance has improved. Maybe because I've poured my energy into something I can control. My colleagues after that public scene in the lobby have been respectful. Some of them looked at me differently for a while, like they weren't sure whether to offer support or keep their distance. I didn't care. Eventually, things returned to normal, and now with the legal process in full swing, I've started planning for the next chapter. I don't know what it will look like yet. But I know it won't involve Daisy. She laughed. She underestimated me. She bet that I'd never notice. Never act. She was wrong on all counts. And now she's learning piece by piece, day by day, just how much I noticed. By now it's been about 2 months since everything started unraveling. The divorce process is in full motion. Depositions are being scheduled, property disclosures filed, and my lawyer has been steadily building pressure. Daisy's lawyer is trying every move in the book to delay or lessen the damage, but it's clear they're grasping at straws. There's simply too much evidence and too much momentum behind my side. Daisy's credibility is shot. Between her years of deception, misuse of marital funds, and her very public breakdowns, she's in no position to demand anything significant. Still, they've tried. Her lawyer sent a proposal last week asking for a reasonable alimony agreement and a 50-50 split of the house's value. My lawyer laughed out loud when he read it. He responded with a firm rejection and attached a summary of Daisy's infidelity, financial abuse, and that psychiatric report from her hospital visit. The same report where the doctors noted she was suffering from acute emotional distress and impaired judgment. It's damning and admissible. I think that's when it finally hit her. The gravity of what she's done. The walls are closing in and there's no more pretending. Her messages to me have all but stopped now. No more rage, no more apologies, no more fake promises. Just silence. And I like it that way. I've started to rebuild my routines. I wake up early, make my coffee in peace, and sometimes just stand by the window for a few minutes, enjoying the stillness. There's no tension in the house anymore. No strange silences, no lies being spoken across the kitchen table, no pretending to be asleep just to avoid conversation. There's just me, and that feels like a gift. My neighbors have been polite about everything. They heard the gossip. It's a small enough town that people talk. But no one's been intrusive. Some just give a silent nod when we cross paths. A few kind souls have offered help or simply checked in on me. That meant more than I expected. I started going to the gym again. At first it was just something to fill the time, but after a few weeks I realized it was helping. My head felt clearer, my body stronger. I was sleeping better. I even signed up for a weekend hiking group. It was strange stepping into public spaces again, not as Eric and Daisy, just Eric, but liberating. At one point, I considered deleting the recordings, the emails, the photos, all of it. I'd already turned over everything necessary for legal proceedings, but part of me wanted to erase it from my life entirely. Wipe it all clean. I couldn't do it. Not yet. Not because I'm holding on to revenge or because I want to dwell on it, but because I need the reminder that someone I loved and trusted could look me in the eyes every day, kiss me goodbye in the morning, and then turn around and laugh about how too stupid I was to see the truth. That kind of betrayal doesn't just disappear. It leaves scars, and scars tell stories. Troy, from what I hear, is still in damage control mode. His wife Mary went full scorched earth after receiving that binder. She filed for divorce, almost immediately froze their joint accounts sound familiar, and took the kids to stay with her sister. I was told by a mutual acquaintance that Troy has been living in a cheap rental across town, trying to rebuild his dental practice's reputation. Apparently, several of his clients, especially families, left his clinic after the affair became public. People talk. And his downfall was fast. He tried calling Daisy a few times, I've heard. Maybe to salvage something. Maybe to blame her. But she hasn't mentioned him since everything went public. I don't think there's much left between them. That so-called special connection vanished the moment real consequences hit. Her social circle, too, has shrunk dramatically. The friends who once encouraged her wild weekends and made fun of me with her, they've gone quiet. A few of them even reached out to mutual friends with nervous energy, as if trying to distance themselves from the fallout. I doubt they're laughing now. One particularly petty part of me wondered if Daisy's birthday memories would forever be tied to that restaurant scene. If she'd ever walk into that place again. If the staff who watched her scream and cry while holding divorce papers remember her as that woman. I hope they do. The power dynamic between us has completely flipped. For years, she saw me as predictable, boring, safe, easy to manipulate. She counted on my trust, my loyalty, used it as a shield to keep living her double life. But she forgot something important. I wasn't weak. I was patient. I wasn't stupid. I was trusting. And now I've proven that when pushed far enough, I will act with precision without drama, and with a cold focus that she never saw coming. The house is mine now, legally and emotionally. I've changed the locks, repainted a few rooms, and removed everything that reminded me of her. The photos, the clothes, the little gifts I once thought were meaningful. They're gone. Donated, discarded, erased. The bedroom feels different now. Not haunted, just empty. And honestly, I like it better this way. Some nights I think about what could have been, about the version of our life that might have existed if Daisy had just talked to me, been honest, when she started to feel disconnected. Maybe we could have worked through it. Maybe not. But that version of her, that honest version, never existed. The one I loved was just a mask, and now that the mask is gone, all I see is someone I don't recognize and never want back. This chapter is closing, slowly, painfully, but surely. The next one is waiting, and I plan to write it without her. It's now been about 4 months since D-Day, since Daisy's birthday dinner turned into the moment her entire house of cards collapsed. The legal process is entering its final stretch. My lawyer tells me the final court date is coming soon, and that barring any dramatic last-minute changes, the outcome is all but guaranteed. We're securing sole ownership of the house. No alimony. She'll walk away with her personal belongings and whatever is left in her own accounts, what little there is. Everything else will stay with me. A few weeks ago, I signed the final financial disclosure documents. That was the moment it all felt real. Final? Signed, notarized, official. After all the years of shared bank statements, dinner receipts, and holiday budgets, it was strange to see it all reduced to line items and legal boxes. Strange but necessary. Daisy has been quiet, not just legally, but personally. Her lawyer still tries to press for more here and there, but Daisy herself hasn't sent a message in weeks. No calls, no pleading emails, no tears. I think she finally got it. Not just that it's over, but that she has no leverage left. No path back in. I made sure of that. I found out she's living in a small apartment now, one of those extended stay places just outside the city. A far cry from the life she used to flaunt. I saw a photo someone forwarded to me. She looked thinner, older, worn down in a way that went beyond makeup or bad lighting. It was the kind of tired that lives in your bones. I didn't feel joy seeing it, just closure. She built her identity on control, on keeping secrets, juggling lives, managing perception. But now she can't even manage the basics. I've heard she's working again, picking up extra hours, probably trying to stay afloat. But most of her support network has quietly faded. Turns out the friends who laugh with you in private often don't want to deal with your fallout in public. Troy, meanwhile, has vanished from the conversation entirely. His divorce is ongoing, but from what I hear, it's turning against him fast. His reputation in town is wrecked. I heard he tried to join a new practice, but word got around too quickly. Mary, his wife, seems to be handling things with the kind of cold efficiency I can respect. I've never spoken to her. Probably never will, but part of me thinks we would understand each other without needing to say much. There's a strange kind of symmetry in all this. Two people betrayed. Two people who decided enough was enough. Two people who didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't explode. They just acted. And the ones who thought they could keep lying, they're now living with the wreckage they created. As for me, I'm moving on. It hasn't been easy. Some nights I still lie awake thinking about those years I gave her. The love I offered freely. The loyalty that was mocked behind closed doors. I think about the version of myself that existed before all this, the trusting, gentle man who believed in long drives and Sunday dinners and growing old together. That version of me is gone. But I'm okay with that. What's taken his place isn't bitter or broken, it's just clearer, wiser, stronger. I've started to fill my time with new things. I'm volunteering at a local mentoring program for young professionals. I've taken a few short trips, nothing big, just quiet weekends away in places I used to love. I'm reconnecting with people I hadn't spoken to in years, not because of drama, but because life got busy. I'm learning how to be alone again. Not lonely, just alone. There's a difference. I even went on a few dates. Nothing serious. Just coffee, conversation, laughter. It felt strange at first, like trying on clothes that didn't quite fit yet. But I'm not rushing. I'm not looking for someone to replace Daisy. I'm not looking to prove anything to anyone. I'm just living. One quiet, intentional day at a time. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't just hurt, it changes you. It forces you to look at yourself in ways you never did before. It makes you question your instincts, your judgment, even your own value. And if you're not careful, it can rot you from the inside out. But if you survive it, and I mean truly survive it, you come out the other side sharper, calmer. You stop wasting energy on things that don't deserve it. You stop begging for clarity from people who profit from your confusion. You stop fighting to prove your worth to people who never truly saw it. You become your own closure. Daisy once laughed at me for being too stupid to notice. She thought she could manipulate me forever, that I'd never wake up, never fight back, never see her for who she really was. But I did. And now, on the other side of all that pain, I see her clearly. I see myself clearly. And I can finally say this with no anger, no revenge, no regret, just clarity. I didn't lose her. She lost me.